The Minnesota Timberwolves' new owners, Alex Rodriguez and Marc Lore, are on their media tour. But I'm going to explain why there are a few red flags throughout their media tour. And then I'm going to explain why new Timberwolves draftee, the 17th overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft, Joan Beringer. Everyone's talking about Gobert mentoring him. But could he mentor Rudy Gobert? All of that on today's show. But first, I need to tell you about 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis, because they transformed our bathroom in 48 hours. And I want you to have the same convenience and satisfaction as we received in our household, because we were looking at different possibilities. 8-week project here, 10-week project there, 6-week project, but you've got to outsource the mold and hire somebody else. We didn't want any of that. We wanted our entire project to get done in one area. And 5-Star Bath Solutions promised that they could do it all, and they did it all. If you're watching on YouTube, take a look at these before and after pictures. Before, we had a blue floor, a blue step, an ugly shower, mold in the shower, handrails everywhere, a brown vanity, a disgusting sink, and it just needed an overhaul. And 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis overhauled our bathroom in 48 hours. We had our bathroom back in 2 days. New floor, new tub, new surround. We went from 1 sink to 2 sinks, new countertops and new vanity, and a new mirror. Our bathroom is satisfying, we love it, and we show it off. Before, it was embarrassing and disgusting. Free consultations available and affordable payment plans. 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis offers it all. All right, let's talk about Alex Rodriguez and Marc Lore. There's articles, there's interviews with Dane Moore in his NBA podcast. There's articles on The Athletic with John Krasinski and on StarTribune.com with Chris Hine. They are going on their media tour. And right now, the message is all positive, as it should be. It's not about the money. We're going to build a new arena. We're not going to step in and step on Tim Connolly's toes. Everything they are saying is all positive. Everything they are saying is exciting Timberwolves fans. But I think we need to be careful and take a look at the red flags as well. And I think we also need to ask the question of, does the idea of something always live up to the satisfaction of something? Because I don't know how often the idea matches the satisfaction. In John Krasinski's article on The Athletic, here's a quote by Marc Lore. It says this: "In the startup world, I've always been driven by the mission, not the money. And mercenaries are driven by money. And I think anybody who would even contemplate moving the team is clearly a mercenary. The only reason would be for money, right? And that's just not us." Are you sure? Are you sure that the mission is not money? When you start a company like Marc Lore started Wonder, and it is now evaluated at a $7 billion business, is the mission not the money? What is the end goal? It is all about the money. For owners, for athletes, for fans. There's just a recent article written about, is sports affordable anymore? Is sports becoming impossible as prices increase to enter the gate and concessions are completely outrageous. Are we sure it's not about the money? Because the truth of the matter is, it is. Whether it's a second apron, whether you're paying too many taxes, at the end of the day, the question that needs to be answered and will be answered is, do we want to pay for this? Or how much do we want to pay for this? Because it's not about the money. Sounds great at the beginning, but when you're writing those checks and they're way more expensive than you want them to be, then it does become about the money. Alex Rodriguez and Marc Lowry's quotes sound like owners that are trying to play the PR game and say the right thing at the right time. They are now stepped in as the official owners of the Timberwolves. And now they are saying everything to comfort Timberwolves fans. We're going to build a new arena. It's not about the money. We are never going to move the team. But the question that needs to be looked at, which will ultimately be the reason why the team is moved at all, is the question of where will the Timberwolves play long term? Because the Target Center is the second oldest arena in the league, and there is no question about it. It is outdated, and that it just does not accommodate the NBA fan or athlete compared to other NBA arenas around the league. It is outdated. And Chris Hine, in his Star Tribune article, had this written. It says, Lowry and Rodriguez have repeatedly squashed the notion that they would ever move the team out of Minnesota. Alex and I said this from the beginning. We are never moving the team, Lowry said. Lowry said while they haven't discussed the specifics of where the funding would come from for this project, they were prepared to fund it privately. Now it becomes about the money. Because Lowry and Rodriguez, who bought the team for $1.5 billion, who also had other minority stakes like Michael Bloomberg and the former CEO of Google involved in the payment or buying of the Timberwolves, are they really going to fund a new stadium that could cost over $1 billion plus dollars? MinnesotaSportsFan.com. I don't think that Marc Lowry and Alex Rodriguez or the other rich people now involved in the Timberwolves organization want to privately fund a new $1 billion plus arena. And he's right. They are not going to privately fund. So what will determine the future of the Timberwolves organization is going to be how much state involvement, government involvement that the owners can get when building a new stadium. Going back to the Vikings days when the Metrodome fell apart, they were playing at TCF Bank Stadium, now Huntington Bank Stadium. There were long discussions and possibilities that the Vikings were going to be the team that moved to Los Angeles instead of the St. Louis Rams, because it took a long time for everything to come into agreement on getting a new stadium built where it is currently built. So these processes take a lot longer and are much more difficult than Alex Rodriguez and Marc Lore would imagine, because they are not going to privately fund their own arena when you can try to make something happen with the state. There is 0% chance of them privately funding their new arena. The one great sign for the Timberwolves, and I'm excited about their ownership. I should be very vocal about this because I think Rodriguez and Lore do bring a young exuberance and excitement to an organization. I don't think Glenn Taylor was as bad as everyone wants to say he was, because he bought the team and prevented them from moving to New Orleans when they were one step away from moving out of this state. Glenn Taylor paid Kevin Garnett when he wanted to be the highest paid player in the league, and that alone generated an NBA lockout in the 1999 NBA season. So as much as Kevin Garnett hates Glenn Taylor was the one that paid him. And Glenn Taylor was the final signature to send Kevin Garnett to Boston and received his first championship. So I'm not as down on Glenn Taylor, although he has made a plethora of mistakes throughout his timeline as Timberwolves owner, but I am also excited about the Timberwolves' new ownership group. The one thing that I think Timberwolves fans can really find solace in, the fact that the Timberwolves aren't going to move, is that for years, the NBA has wanted to expand and develop franchises. They want to bring back the Seattle Supersonics, and they want to bring in an organization and franchise to Las Vegas, just like the NFL did. So that could be the biggest protection for the Timberwolves moving to a Las Vegas or to a Seattle, because of the NBA's future goals with adding more franchises. So what they said, Lore and Rodriguez, all sounds good. It's not about the money. We're going to let Connolly do his thing. We love the relationship between Connolly and Finch and Edwards, and we don't want to mess that up or break it up, but let's just give it some time. And let's really wait and see what kind of owners these two are going to be. The one thing that we know they're going to be is active, because even when they were minority owners, when this whole deal was getting figured out, they were at playoff games, home and away, and you could see their excitement on the sidelines. They bring an excitement and an energy that Glenn Taylor couldn't, because he's almost 90 years old. So that's the thing. That's a guarantee. And I am excited about the ownership, but I think it's also fair to look at this thing objectively and say, okay, the things you are saying sound too good to be true. You are not going to be the perfect owner, although that is exactly how you are trying to present yourself to the Timberwolves public. All right, topic 2. Joan Beringer, France center. Timberwolves select him with the 17th overall selection in the NBA draft. And to begin the episode, I said, could Joan Beringer mentor Rudy Gobert? And the reason why I say that is this. Sam Vicini, he is a senior writer at The Athletic on the NBA draft, host of a game theory podcast. He writes this. This is like the easiest pick in the world. Beringer is a real developmental player. He's an incredible athlete. Like an unbelievable athlete. 6'11", 7'5" wingspan, super long arms, great hands, catches everything in his area. Moves like a wing. Moves at a level that no one big in his class really achieves. He's just very raw. It's going to take some time. There is legitimately no better player for Beringer to learn from in the NBA than Rudy Gobert, because this is the exact archetype. This is exactly what it is. So I think this is a great pick from Tim Connolly. I think it makes a ton of sense, and I'm a huge fan of what they've done here. Here's where Beringer could mentor Gobert. It says this. Like an unbelievable athlete, 6'11", 7'5" wingspan, super long arms, great hands, catches everything in his area. How many times do we see Rudy Gobert attempt to catch a pass and it bounces right off of his ping pong paddles of hands? Rudy Gobert cannot catch a pass. And when he does, there is divine intervention happening. Because Gobert rarely catches a pass. The only passes Gobert catches in the paint are touch lob passes. So what gets me excited the most about Beringer is the fact that he can catch. And maybe, just maybe, some of his catching acumen can transfer over to his fellow Frenchman, Rudy Gobert. Now, I say that tongue-in-cheek because I'm mostly kidding. And Rudy Gobert will be a great mentor for Joan Beringer. But ultimately, the goal, he's going to be 18 years old in October. He turns 19 in November when the NBA season basically starts. He's raw. He's an upcoming talent and most likely will not get consistent playing time for a few years. The goal that I think the Timberwolves are trying to achieve with Beringer is that he eventually replaces Rudy Gobert. And he becomes what the Dallas Mavericks have with their center core. Guys that can move, set picks and rolls, and dunk, and also guard positions 1 through 5. Gobert can guard guards and does a very good job of that. But when Gobert guards players out on the wing, he needs to use his length to block shots and contest shots. So he needs to play like 2 or 3 feet off these guys. These guys can get open 3-point shots with a simple step back 3. Beringer can guard 1 through 5 without necessarily giving up that space because of his natural athleticism. So the goal for the Timberwolves moving forward is when Anthony Edwards turns 26, 27 and Gobert's gone, Beringer fills in the role of Rudy Gobert and becomes a 5 that can run the floor, that can dunk, that can catch passes, and that can defend position 1 through 5 in a switch-heavy defensive scheme. Because that is the NBA. There is no more fighting over screens or fighting under screens. It's a constant switching of the defense. And you see it almost every single possession where players are not guarding the guy that they were intending to guard because the NBA is heavily reliant on switching and guarding different players that are out of your position. So it's an interesting draft pick, and is a pick that hopefully we see the fruit of in a few years. The advantage of selecting Beringer is that he is a center. So the Timberwolves are not going to be reliant on a skill like dribbling the ball or shooting a fadeaway and scoring the ball, transitioning into or translating into becoming an NBA player that can score. We're just asking you to block shots and dunk the ball and guard guys. That's the easiest thing to translate into the NBA. The hardest thing to translate into the NBA is scoring the basketball at a high level. The easiest thing, block shots, defend players, and dunk it. Hopefully, Beringer can do that because he's got the athleticism to do it and he's got the length to do it. Two things that should easily translate into becoming a very good basketball player. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Timberwolves make any trades this offseason. It seems like the big trade they were trying to finesse was Kevin Durant, which is a no-go. So it'll be interesting to follow and fascinating to see if the Timberwolves have any backup options on their radar on other organizations that they can bring in and hopefully take the roster to another level. So thanks for watching. Remember, 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. Check them out, and I hope you all have a good day.